The San Luis Obispo County Sheriff is holding a news conference to reveal more information about the search of a home tied to the killer of Stockton native Kristin Smart. Let's listen in.
GPR out there during the search. It's the same GPR and operator that we used at Ruben's house, where we located what we believe was a location that Kristin was at one time. The issue is where is Kristin? And for those that have followed it and know the case, it's been a roller coaster. There's always ups, and you think you're onto something, and then it drops to nothing. That's the way the case is, and that's not unusual for cases, but this one in particular, I remember speaking to our investigative team at one point, just saying we don't seem to ever get a break. Every time we think we have something, it collapses. I think we finally hit the high when we found the burial site at Ruben's house, but it didn't give us the answer that we were still seeking, is where's Kristin? And so that's why the search continued. I'll only mention that two things. I mentioned GPR already. It was visible for the media. It's all over the news that they were doing it, so there was no secret we were using GPR. We also are conducting soil tests, and that's kind of the scientific part. I'm not going to go into the details other than just to say with soil tests, it's about the compounds in the soil that are related to a human decomposing body. And so that is what you saw or may have seen with the canisters collecting it. The way these warrants work, just like Ruben's, as you may recall, a judge believes that we have probable cause to go look for either either Kristin or the remains of Kristin. And once we satisfy that, then it becomes a slow, methodical search. We made the agreement that internally that we're not leaving that house until we are sure that we have checked everything, and when I say everything is what is reasonable. We can't go to somebody's house regardless of what we might believe and tear up the entire house. We have to base it on next step sciences, and that's exactly what we did in Ruben's house. That's exactly what we're doing now. So the question is I think it's safe to say that we have not recovered Kristin yet, but our search goes on, and I don't know how long we're going to be there. The warrant that we obtained what's called, that we refer to as a kick-out warrant. That means the occupants of the residence, once we serve it, have to depart and cannot return to the residence. It's not unusual. You can imagine that you don't want somebody that could be a suspect in a case or who might have access to evidence destroying that once we're there, but also we don't have the ability to babysit them and basically hold them in their house, restrict them from going anywhere. So that's not uncommon. So that's what we did in this case. Susan won't be able to return until we have completed our search. Don't know if it's going to conclude today. As I mentioned, it's a methodical step each time. We get something, we go in another direction. We get something, we pursue that. And so it is, until we're done, and we plan to be there until we can walk away, either finding Kristin or all the evidence we can find and moving to the next step. I'll tell you one other thing that has been my mantra with Stan and Denise Smart, and I have a very good relationship with them. I speak to them all the time. I told them at the very beginning of the case, when I came into office, that I would communicate with them. They could call me anytime, that I wanted to share what I could, but just like with you, I can't share everything. We have to protect the integrity of the case. And I think sometimes people don't fully understand that. If I let out information that could jeopardize a next step or our next direction, that would be damaging. My relationship with the Smarts is I will tell you in advance so there's no surprises that we're doing something. In some cases, I can be specific that we're going to a location. In others, it's fairly vague until we're actually there. You guys do obviously a tremendous job of finding where we are and knowing our location and knowing what we're up to. You know that neighborhood on Branch Street. I am quite convinced that many people in that neighborhood were calling the moment we pulled up in front of that house. Totally understandable. But we still have to make sure that anything we're pursuing is not tainted or is getting out before it needs to go out, where it's going to damage the future of the case. It goes for locations that we've searched before. What we don't know, and probably a simple analogy for that, is if we go and talk to a witness today and that witness says they saw nothing, they looked away when it all happened, and then we find out a week later that that was not true. They had told people that they witnessed everything. So just because somebody was interviewed, just because a location was searched, does not mean that we have checked it off our box. We have a very large county with many rural parts to it, and as you can imagine, for those who were around, probably now a dozen years ago, 10, 12 years ago, we searched the hillside outside of Cal Poly where the Big P was. That took tremendous amount of work, and we barely hit that full hillside. I mean, it was probably an eighth of that hill that we hit, based on scientific evidence that put us there. So I think when it comes to divulging certain things, I can't divulge, but understand that I have the same relationship with the family. I think the problem with this case from the very beginning was most people that had read the case believed they knew about the case. It was always, their feeling was always based on belief. And as I repeated to the Smarts many times, it's not what we believe, it's what we can prove. And that's our justice system, and that's why I think our justice system is sound. People shouldn't want law enforcement arresting somebody on a belief. There should be proof to it. So that's what makes it hard for everybody saying, I want this, I want to see that. Branch Street has come up from the very beginning as a location, but when it's been searched already, we have to have new evidence in order to go back. A judge just doesn't say, well, yeah, you had the warrant, you didn't feel a thorough enough job was done back then. It's not fresh information. The information in the search warrant has to be fresh, relevant, and have the threshold of probable cause. So that's what we pursued. That's why we're there today. We arrived just before 7 on Wednesday to serve the search warrant, and we're prepared to go as long as it takes until we either find Kristin, find evidence, and are satisfied that everything has been searched. Okay.
Okay, you were just listening to an update given by the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff. Couple of things that he mentioned is that investigators are continuing to search the home of Susan Flores, the mother, of course, of Paul Flores, who's convicted of killing Kristin Smart in 1996. That's when she was last seen as a student at Cal Poly. Bottom line is the sheriff says that they have not recovered Kristin just yet, but the search continues. They're using ground-penetrating radar and soil tests to find any potential traces of a decomposing body. Of course, we will have more of this streaming live online. Just head to kcra.com. We'll be right back with more news.